Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Skill Issues podcast. This is episode 8, and for whatever reason, at 9:30 in the morning, I was the one elected to host this episode. The first episode, in fact, that we're going to be posting on Spotify. So, to all of our audio listeners, I'm sorry for what Pavlos has just done to your ears. We'll head to you first, Pavlos. How are you feeling this week?
I'm doing good. It's early, and we thought that it'd be best to sacrifice you today. And yes.
All
What do you
good.
mean sacrifice you today? What about sacrificing me? I'm sitting here on like 3 hours of sleep. Honestly, when I figure out what's wrong with my sleep schedule and I get more than 4 hours a night, it's over. It's over for you guys. Like, I will be so good at my job. But for now, I look like I just got out of the grave. And that's how I've been looking for the last 3 months anyway. So it doesn't matter.
2021
Is this
was
the reason why we
practice.
decided today to be the audio episode? Because we all look like shit.
True.
We
Well,
just
just
woke up.
today,
Very
just
true.
today. I mean, you got that confidence if you think it's just today. I respect it, you know?
One of us will get sleep one day. So, 2022 was practice, 2023 was a warm-up, 2024, it's time to lock in, all right? We're ready to go. And speaking of, let's get straight into the topics, man. We got a weekly roundup, and what a week it is. This morning is the morning before Masters, right? That big Valorant event coming up. And I wanted to speak about one just a little bit here, about what could maybe not necessarily be the future of what esports events looks like, and having local bases, which I know people sometimes struggle with. It's difficult to get people in the same room to support a team, and it's that Eintracht Frankfurt, for the next couple weeks, or next week, or next however many officials they're playing, are going to be doing it on LAN, but it's at Gamescom in Cologne. So basically, they will be playing their matches, whether the other team is there with them, whether they're in an online environment, whatever it is that's going on. I think Focus will be there in person, but in terms of them, yeah, they're just there. So basically, anyone that's a fan of the team can go along, see the team competing, and watch them as a fan of the team. So I'm curious
What if you're
as to
not a
what
fan of the team?
you two think of it. Well, maybe
can
you
just
could
go
become a fan
to
of
the
the team.
toilet,
It's an opportunity to see them play in person, where maybe it's not a huge tournament or anything. But this reminds me of something that Monte Cristo said at one point in time. And it was about, like, what if for teams, instead of having, like, to localize everyone in one place to do a, like, LAN league or something like we have in Valorant at the moment, what if each team had, like, a local bar where you could go and watch them, and you watch for that team, so they're all offline, and you get to see them there?
Isn't that something that happens in like sports anyway? I mean, yes, there's obviously the stadium in which fans will go and watch the game live, but there's also like bars which are usually tend to one of the team's fan bases. Isn't that something that happens anyway in the sports leagues?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you
in
have to
traditional
invite the
sports.
other team to come then, right? Whereas
Yeah,
with
but then that
this,
brings the
you
question
don't
of, like,
necessarily need to.
But the thing is, like, as well, like, do teams have the money? Because when you're looking at esports, right, there is only, like, what's the rule? You need 2 people from the nationality of the region that you're competing in when it comes to these regional leagues. And I'm not talking about like VCT, I'm not talking about LEC, but it's like you then have to pay for these players to be able to come to the city. You have to pay for their accommodation. You have to pay for their food. You have to pay for a setup for them to be able to play on. You have to pay for a room that the whole team can use for scrims. Like, there's a lot of monetary sunk cost involved in this, which makes it a lot of more risky and expensive. Because let's be completely honest, like, esports at this point, like, every single team, like, TSM where, CLG who, like, I don't want to be that guy, but it's not looking that great. And yes, you want to be playing on a LAN because then you give your sponsors like an opportunity to be like seen by more people. But also, again, if you're playing it in a local one, realistically, you're gonna tell your sponsor, like, yeah, we got 10 people coming every day, and we got, like, I don't know what are the doc numbers? Does
But
anyone know? Like, it's not, for sponsors, it's not that appealing, and you're putting a lot of money into it.
all I'm
So
thinking is, if it's local, though, then you tap into the local sponsors. Think about beer money, Ginny. Think about how many people might want to buy a Gini and tonic, something from the bar.
Gini and tonic. Okay, like,
Think about it,
shit,
right?
fuck.
Like, if you partner up with the with the
Are
bar.
we allowed? Are you allowed to partner up with alcoholic beverages? Because
This is
Sure.
all theory
it
crafting.
depends
This is
what
all
game it
theory
is, right?
crafting, right? I think
It
it
is
could
theory
be a,
cra- I like
a
it. I
cool
like the
idea,
idea.
because there are a lot of like teams as well that will have their like facility and stuff. I think
Yeah.
this probably works better for a game like CS, maybe, where you
Yeah.
have teams that are already playing 90% of their officials in an online environment, and maybe they are like in a location or something. I don't know.
Wasn't it VCT Americas last year where they had Heineken 0.0
Oh
as
yeah.
their main
did, yeah,
sponsor,
they
and
did.
whenever they
Yeah.
had the Icebox picked up, the casters would literally on camera have a sip of that drink.
Really?
Yes,
I could
they would.
never.
I remember seeing Doug and Baller cracking up a couple of
A
beer.
cold one.
Yeah, cracking up a cold one. Obviously, there was 0.0, but they were doing that on stream. I was like, wait,
That's
what?
Hey,
cool.
honestly, if that was me, I'm bringing a real crate of Heineken and just stickering over them, right? Like, nah, honestly,
Caster loses the plot
look,
live on
I've
broadcast.
no,
Caster
I
gets
have,
drunk on cast.
funny story, right? I have actually casted drunk before because me and my
exposed.
friends.
you
No,
get
no, no, no,
paid
no,
for
not
it?
in,
Was
not
this
in an
m-
official environment.
Okay, I was
Come
gonna
on,
say,
come
like,
on. Let's
you-
not call my professionalism into the question here. Me and my friends hosted a Mario Kart tournament, which involved
Ooh,
taking a
banger.
drink before every race, and I streamed it. And by the end, because I'd already been knocked out of the competition, I was the commentator, and it was just like screaming down the microphone, like trying to build up the hype for like the last few races.
Drunk podcast when
It was
honestly.
Actually,
it was
sounds
good.
awesome.
I mean, I would not be partaking because I don't drink, but I can be like
Respect.
the mediator. I can be like, it's okay, stop crying. You don't have to cry. I'll
The
do that. Let's
throat
do
was
that.
wrecked. The throat was absolutely wrecked by the
Whoa,
end of it.
that was so out of context. I
No,
was
no,
like,
no, no, no.
What are
After
you
all of the
talking
screaming.
about?
Yeah, let's just clip it from the
Bro.
moment where Hazza said the
The
throat was
throat,
Yeah.
wrecked.
like what?
Yeah, look,
Let's
let's swiftly move this one on from being young and
What if I
making
don't want
bad
to? What
decisions.
if I want to talk more about the fact that your throat was wrecked? What if
Okay.
that's the topic that I think the
Amazing.
viewers want to listen
Maybe
to?
it will be after shouting about Masters Madrid. I said, let's no
Yeah,
more
how
talk
much are you
about
getting
being
paid to
young
advertise
and
these
making
Valorant
bad
things?
decisions, right? Let's be young and make good decisions, like playing for a successful Valorant roster. And I think this is one which maybe Pavlos wanted to talk about because I saw we both
Sure.
quote retweeted it.
Yes.
But just
Yeah, 'cause
thinking that
Pavlos
we're
felt
old now.
old.
We're all old. I'm actually.
We all feel old. Ginny, we're all older than the
In my
average
brain,
ages.
wait, hold the phone. Okay, I'm going to rationalize this, and I'm going to express what everybody is feeling, but cannot put into words because I'm just like that chronically online. Okay, right?
Yeah,
So,
but first, for the audio listeners, we've brought up a graphic and it has the average ages of the teams competing at Madrid Masters. Sentinels 23.4, Genji
the
also
oldest.
23.4. Yeah, that's the oldest. Paper X 21.6, Heretics 21, Loud 20.6, so is EDG, FPX 20.4, and Calming Core at 20.2 years of age.
A
on
bunch of
average.
Zoomers, man.
Ginny.
Okay, I feel like my point, you know, I could have said it and then we could have gone to the graphic, but that's okay because I'm still gonna rationalize it because I didn't lose my train of thought, which considering my TikTok goldfish brain, like that's crazy.
Still going on a tangent, though.
I am so impressed by myself right now. Anyway, so I am X years old. I'm not leaking it. No, it's all on the internet.
Liquipedia.
I'm 25 years old, right? But
You're
I
the
don't.
oldest one here, by the way.
Wow, thank you so much for pointing that out. I appreciate it. I might be the oldest one, but I still get asked by security at the airport if I have a consent from my parents that they can search me. That's crazy. It literally
Yeah,
happened
dude,
like a week ago.
You're the oldest, but you still look like a toddler.
I look like an overgrown toddler. Actually, no, I can't say that because that's what I used to like bully short casters like Ian. Anyways, so I might be 25 years old, like 1 foot in the grave, ready to like roll over and just like take a nap forever. But I don't feel 25 years old. And that is because when lockdown and COVID in general was occurring, that 3-year period, I did not have any experiences. And neither did anyone else in the world because everybody was fucking locked up in their home playing video games like a gremlin, like shrimp posture over their fucking computer. Everybody was playing Valorant on a MacBook. Like that was wild.
Chad move.
That's
Not really.
not like,
but-
why would you do that to yourself, to your team, and to your MacBook? Either way, I digress. So because I didn't have any experiences in those last 3 years of my life, yeah, literally the
What
shrimp
the
posture on point. That's how I'm sitting right now too, because I want to get closer to my mic because I really want to amplify my voice and my concerns. But there was no experiences in those 3 years of my life, and that's the case for everybody else. So as a result, mentally, not because I'm sick in the head, but mentally, I am stuck at a younger age because those really important formative years of my life never actually happened. So I might be 25, but I think we need to start a petition with the government that everybody can legally change their age by 3 years because nothing fucking happened in 3 years. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I'm ready to
Would this-
counterpoint it straight away. I don't know about you,
Go for it.
Pavlos.
I mean, would this mean like if people are, you know, no longer underage, you know, they're at 21 years old and they just go -3, they'd be 18, or if they were 20, they'd be 17. They wouldn't be able to drink anymore.
yeah,
I don't
it's
think a lot
so-
of people
literally
want to do that.
Infinity
Life is not about
War, you know?
drinking.
When they get snapped, and then all of the people that grew up when that people weren't there
Yeah.
have changed the ages and
Yeah.
they stayed the same. You don't remember that?
Jenny, it might not be about drinking, but it also could be about driver's licenses and stuff like that.
I don't have
you know?
one. I don't
People want
care.
privileges. People want to be grown
The
up.
biggest
I
thing
don't
for
want to
me.
be grown up. I want to go back to being a teenager because,
Wah!
like, I don't want to be old.
Think about it though. How long has everyone here's esports career been? Has it been more or less than 3 or 4 years?
It's been less.
It's been a bit more. It's been three and a half.
3, right?
3 years.
Think about
3
what
and a
you've
half.
done in the last 4 years. That amount of time is a lot of experience, right? I think that, you know,
Shit.
do we want to necessarily compare these rosters as one is better than the other because of that? Because you look at a team like Loud, for example, their average age, I can't remember what it was, like 24, 25, something like that. 20, huh?
20.6.
Yeah, 20.6, and they still have the oldest player in the tournament, Sadak, which seems to
That
continually
means that the rest of the players are 18 and
reinvent the wheel, right? Like they still have the experience there. So I think even if you want to go back and say like to build a good roster with a blend of youth and experience is probably the best. I'm thinking specifically what Apex have done for like the last 2 years, where they bring in 3 established VCT talents, one that wants to prove themselves, and one youngster that can just aim out the wazoo, right? Like that's what they have in Kiko and Kayak, and what they had with Misto, Magnum, Mystic, and
Misto.
Enzo, and now
be a
what they
gravy.
have with Mulsi, Avova, and Soulcast. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how we feel about the Zuma takeover,
I mean, listen-
but maybe that's just where we're headed.
I think it's good. I think
Yeah.
it's just progression of the esport in general, you know, because Valorant is one of the newest esports. You've got players, you had players like from other esports titles,
The
like
washed up
Counter-Strike,
CS
like Overwatch, that
players.
just
You can
jumped
say
in
it.
Valorant
You can
and
say it.
wanted to, you know, because they could aim and they had the experience of playing at a professional level, that they were by default the better players coming into that game. But, you know, with people that grew up with the game and, you
Grew
know,
up with the
grinding
game.
it out from the start. Yeah, quite literally, right? If they're 18 years old now, one of their first esports was when they were 15 years old. So those 3 years of being in high school and grinding that game out, that's the gamers we've got now coming in and filling up the highlight reels of every single event, and that's what's cool about it, you know, 'cause
Honestly,
these are Valorant players through and through. Even though we've got 18-year-olds like Benji Fitchy, who was a Fortnite extraordinaire
Yeah.
at 16, 15 years old.
same
So
with
they are-
Kayak. Same
yeah,
with Kayak.
right?
He came from Fortnite. I think we're in the Fortnite generation right now, genuinely. Like, we're in a bit of a turning
Oh.
point. The thing I can only hope for, and something which I was looking at like a couple of days ago, I was getting a bit emotional. I was going over, rewatching, like, Paris Blast Major, and we'll get into, like, esports events in a little bit. That's another one of the talking points that we have. But just the storyline for someone like Zywoo, who was literally born on the same day that the first ever Counter-Strike game came out and is known as the Chosen One. Like, imagine something like that. That's insane, by the way. Like, I think, yeah, Valorant definitely doesn't thrive from the fact that it's
Wait, when
still
did
within its
CS:GO come out?
infancy. I'm not talking CSGO, though. I'm talking, like,
Counter-Strike.
CS 1.0, the mod for
When was
Half-Life, which
that?
came out in the late 90s. I think it was 1998, something like that.
Oh my
But to the
God.
day he was born, when it came
I
out,
mean, that
which is
literally
just
makes him
crazy.
25 years old, which isn't like that young, but that's also
No,
kind
but-
of crazy.
I remember when Zywoo was the young guy in Counter-Strike Global
Yeah.
Offensive. It was like, oh, this guy's the new hot thing in this
Dude.
game.
It changes so quickly, though, right? I mean,
Yeah,
and for
right.
someone like that as well.
They grow up so
he-
fast.
his whole experience was through, you know, like the online stages. I think that's when he
Yeah.
really broke onto the scene, when he was trailblazing through it. Was 2020, and you know, when we couldn't go outside, when everyone was still playing in those online matches. So.
I mean,
When we
for our League
couldn't
of
go
Legends
outside.
viewers as well, Caps. Does anybody remember when he was the young guy joining Fnatic? When that he was a prodigy, his debut in the LEC. Ginny, do you remember that? I don't know if you were watching it back
No,
then,
I
but I
wasn't.
do. I remember when Caps was the young guy, and now he's one of the oldest guys on there. He still looks like a
Yeah,
kid.
but like that's the thing though. Like you
That's
speak to
beside the
Caps.
fact.
That's the thing. Like you can say that, but that's like one of the things that I respect so much about Caps when you're talking to him or like you're interacting with him, or even when you're watching him, you can genuinely tell like he might be one of the most veteran, if not the veteran player of like the LEC, but he's genuinely from the bottom of his heart just happy to be there. And that is so amazing and like humble, kind, easy to interview. Like I
And
respect
he
that.
could definitely have developed an ego.
But
Because
he
was the
hasn't.
MVP of so many leagues. He's been to multiple finals of the world. He's been to 2 world finals,
He still is.
world's finals, and he's won MSI.
Mhm.
So he could definitely have an ego, right? But he doesn't.
Yeah, as someone
He's
who
just happy to
doesn't
be there.
watch
He's
the
such a
league,
sweetheart. Like
he's the unanimously voted the best mid laner in winter or something like that,
in,
right?
yeah,
Like,
and I mean, yeah,
everyone
he always.
picked him, so
Yeah.
I don't know. Guy's just that good. But
He
this is a
is.
nice segue actually, because we can talk now. Our main subject, the next gen of esports talent. Is this the exact same thing we're already talking about? I'm just curious.
No, that's about a
Or
broadcast
is it
talent.
About broadcast
broadcast? Okay.
talent.
Which one of you put this in the document? Who wants to lead the discussion? Because
Joe.
I'm very interested.
So I put this in the document, but that's off of the back of something Ginny was saying yesterday when we were chatting about it. It's that the world of esports has changed a lot, right? So the way that broadcast talent have approached getting into the top level of broadcast has completely changed from the inception, from 10 years ago. Well, not the inception. Inception was 20 years ago, but from the beginning and the golden age of esports, which was 5 years ago. Things have changed drastically. So, Ginny, if you want to lead the way here,
Oh.
in regards to this, because I think the three of us are the next gen of esports talent, right? We're
Yo.
we're the newcomers, right? We're not
I
the ones
am.
with 10 years of
Yeah.
experience. We're the guys with 2, 3, 4 years of
That
experience.
nobody wants to hire because they think we're gonna shit the bed. I said what I said. Yet
Okay.
I am yet to shit the bed. I hopefully never do. I will never. Not speaking that
Is
into
that true though?
existence.
Do you remember when you were 3 years old and if you shat the bed or not? Do you have that
I
recollection?
probably shot the bed when I was a 3-year-old, but so did you and everybody else listening.
I did, and I remember it. It was one time.
Oh.
It was one time. It was on holiday in France when I was about 4 years old. The same
How do you
holiday when
have
I
a
accidentally
memory?
pushed my younger sister off the bed and had to take her to the French hospital where the guy was shaking
Oh
her
mon
and
Dieu.
speaking French and nobody knew what he was
Really?
saying. The English family
There is
abroad.
poo-poo on the bed.
No. It's honestly, I don't want to go into too much detail,
You
but
already
it's
have.
but as someone now who has, you ever
You've
shared
developed
a
so
been
much,
with
man.
someone
You've
and
come so
been
far.
spooning with someone and it's comfy and it's warm. It's like when you wake up, it's like something warm
Wait,
is holding
how did-
I don't
onto
know what
you,
this is.
and then
No,
you
shut the
start to
fuck
move
up.
and you realize, oh, hang on a minute, oh wait, and then
I did
that's
not
pretty
need
much
to
it.
Where
know
had this
that. That's-
conversation gone?
That's the most disgusting. Dude, you have literally, for anyone listening right now, they will never want to cuddle with anyone. That's disgusting. Why did you feel the need to say that? Oh my god.
Yo, relax. But look, now you know what it's like for those who
Yeah, I
haven't
don't know what's
experienced
worse.
it.
Thank
And for
you
the
so
audio
much for describing
audio
that.
listeners, it's fantastic. And if you
You
want to visualize it, then we do also do these episodes live from time to time. And that doesn't mean I'm shitting myself on camera, because that's what we're not here to do as
No, but it's
broadcast
like-
talent. So we can therefore talk about what happens when people don't shit the bed.
No, but I love how you're like, it's like when you're cuddling someone, and it's like now, next time anyone cuddles their partner, or maybe
No,
one
but
day I'm
you're not
lucky
talking
enough.
shit
them
yourself.
because,
I'm lucky
because
enough to
it's not in
experience
front of you. It's not like it's gone over your chest or anything. It's like just clinging. It's like
No, it's on your crotch. What the fuck
no.
do you
It's like a
mean?
koala on the tree. Like it's
can't
it's
do
behind you. You know. I don't really know, man. It happened one time. I was 4 years old. Yo.
Get me the fuck out. I don't know what's worse, this or you telling us that you peed in a bush because the bathroom was too occupied.
Okay, look. Nothing wrong with just the cycle of nature. Water is 100 years. Water is more than 100. Water's as long as
What
the
is
planet is.
100 years old?
You know what? Hundreds of. It's more like millions. Yeah, I think you know what I mean. I love
think
how we're
this-
like, we're going to introduce the main topic, and then we're just putting me on
The main
blast for
topic is
talking about
Hazza
shit
shitting
for a good,
himself.
like, 3-4 minutes.
Okay, wait. First of all, I said shit the bed, and then you went actually.
Well, you
Like,
asked
you
if anybody had.
volunteered. Extra, but I meant in like an esports broadcast
Look, we're
content.
professionals now. We're professionals now.
Okay, we're professionals now. Okay,
What was
everybody?
the biggest shit the bed that you two did in esports then? Right? In esports.
Uh,
And how did you bounce back? And
ooh.
how did you learn from it then? We'll go there, right? I've already got,
Oh, I got one.
dirt on my
biggest
hands.
shit the bed. My biggest shit the bed was when I did my first ever like live events with an audience, and that was in Poland. That was the event that we were working, and
Oh,
I
really?
thought I thought the intro was fucking disgustingly terrible, and then everybody walks up to me and was like, "It was great," and I'm like, "Y'all are fucking lying to me." So I went and watched it. It actually wasn't that terrible, but it was just like more of a get out of my own head.
I
I'd like
feel
move
that.
on.
I feel like a lot of work,
Mhm.
sometimes you put it out and then you go back and watch it and you're like, yeah, that's actually not too bad. Because
Yeah,
in the
like-
moment you have a feeling, or like you think
Yeah.
that you took a massive pause and you couldn't think of anything to say, and it's like a split second in the moment because your brain is just that fast. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally not avoiding the question about shitting the bed. But I think that's something that we can all experience as talent, right? Because Hazza, the other day we were texting, and you had a broadcast, and you were like, "Oh man, that didn't feel good." It was like I've had a couple of days, 4 days in a row that I've been working, and it just doesn't sound right. And I'm like, bro, everybody has that. Just get out of your head.
For real?
Yeah.
It's part of the process. The day that you stop feeling that you've shat the bed or that you're not doing as well as you could be, that's the day when you should think about, okay, something's wrong. You shouldn't feel comfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's not normal to come off work and be like 100% happy with
Oh
what
yeah,
you
I
just did.
fucking killed that. Well, yeah, you should, because if you're esports talents, you need to be narcissistic to a certain extent, because you gotta
yeah,
have
sure.
some
It's a
form of
balance.
narcissism to
It's
be
true.
comfortable to sit in front of a camera and speak into a mic and be like, oh yeah, everybody wants to listen to me. I mean, we're literally doing that right now. Like
We got a podcast.
For
we're
me-
literally.
We're a bit of a narcissist.
I don't
Yeah,
feel like
absolutely.
Everybody else can be.
like so far for the big cast that I've done, or like the Polaris Grand Finals, I thought I did a really sick job, but it's still the same thing that you're saying. Like there is that part in your head was like, I know I can make improvements, but I was still content with it because you know what? I delivered on the big moments. I did what I needed to do, and it was job done. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
the thing I was telling you about for those who don't know, right? Average length of a game is probably like what 45 minutes if we want to say something like that. I did 32 maps in 9 days. So that is
Ew.
about 24 hours in total, like in
Jesus.
1 week, which, sure, I think people can say like, oh, that's actually like way less than the average person who's like working per week or whatever, and you can put it how you like.
No, that's not the
But
same.
then you have to
It's not the
think
same.
it's constant brain engage. You also have the fact that you are writing notes for everything. You have all of the green rooms, you have the breaks, the time in between, everything spent with your brain active.
And you're
It is
speaking the entire
it is
time.
very taxing. It is very, very
Yeah.
taxing. So
Your
I'm
brain turns into mush.
happy to be on a break, because think how many times you mention the same things every single time, right?
Yeah.
Like you basically just become a human soundboard at that point. It's
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
too
it's
much.
it's not like us sitting here being ungrateful for the jobs that we have, because
sure.
I think we're
No,
very
no,
sure.
lucky. But like, I absolutely agree. It's like not the same. And I know you said that, and I was like, ew. But I've also had instances where I worked 17-hour days, 5 days in a row, back to back to back to fucking back, and
Mhm.
I was like, at that, I think that's the one of the great things about my esports career is I was literally baptized by fire. And it got to a point where I was like, at the very start, if something would go wrong, or like shit was not working out, or like I was feeling some type of way, I would just go into the bathroom and just be like, whew, okay, let's not cry, let's not scream, let's not do anything, let's just like take a second for ourselves. But now I just got to this point where it's like, you can literally, like, I have had shows where literally there is no run of show until like 5 minutes before the broadcast goes live, and I'm like, yeah, fuck it, we ball. And I think like that's something that esports does to you. It's like you get trialed by fire, and
Yeah,
you realize that at the end of the day, it's not that deep.
We've
If it goes bad, it goes bad. Like, what are you gonna do?
True. We've all been through the trenches at one point or another. Pavlos, I'll spin it
yeah.
back to you. With this new gen of esports talent, we can tie two
Yeah.
and two together. They'll be going
Mhm.
through some pretty crazy broadcasts from time to time. What is like the most strenuous one that you ever had? Like longest
Ooh.
broadcast day, or just things weren't going right, or it was like something that happened in the past that you can joke
I mean,
about.
we're not
or
asking
maybe
you
it
to
was
Oh,
name
good.
and
mate, I'm going.
shame.
I'm
Don't
going
name
way
and
back
shame.
here, and it's so way back that I don't mind naming either. Back in the day, like right at the beginning of my esports career, I was working some tier 2 events through this little company, which was basically hired to bring casters in. So it was somewhat like an agency, but not really. They just gave you jobs and got kind of okay, that were an agency. Okay, sure. It was like a mini but under the table agency. It was kind of scruff. It was kind of whack how it worked looking back at it. Anyway, so I'd work like 9 hours on broadcast. We were talking about 3 best of 3s in a row, solo
9
cast.
hours for 3 BO3s is not. Whoa.
Yeah, and it'd be GoTV observed as well. Basically, the streams would exist just so betters could bet on the games,
Yeah.
and
Oh.
that's how and yeah, that's how it began, man. It's like I had a few days of that.
You do
I
the
think to that
one-man
extent,
juggling act where you're
that's
producing,
crazy.
you're casting, you're scene changing, you're all of that.
At some point, well, yeah, no, I wouldn't. Actually, yeah, I would be in charge of production as well. We set up an OBS, so yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
I
I'd
had that
be
as well before, like for £10 for like 5 maps or
yeah,
something. It's
for
crazy.
for dirty money, for
Yeah.
dirty money. Like I don't even remember how much I got paid for it, but it was absolute trash.
I think in that
But
regards,
yeah,
I'm really lucky because I never had that happen. Like I have had really long work days, but I think like yeah, I've had really long work days, and I think as well like people in general still see this hosting role as in like, well, you're not the one casting, you're not the one analyzing, you're just there asking questions, but it's like you have your brain turned on for the entirety of the day because you need to dissect every single game and work with your analysts. So people are like, you're just a host. You don't need a fucking talent rotation. You can do it all by yourself. But I was really lucky that I never had what you had, and that I think that's just simply because I am a host and not a caster. So I literally wouldn't
yeah,
know what to fucking say. But yeah, I think that's kind of like everybody to an extent starting in esports, especially like as the newer talent. You will always have like these horror stories because people are like, well, you're newer talent, you're cheaper, you're probably worse, so you're the one who's gonna have to prove yourself time and time again. At this point, like I have reached some things in my career that I never thought I could do, and I remember this like a couple weeks ago. I was out with one of my friends. She works in esports. We went to a concert and we bumped into 2 more people that work in esports, and they were like, where did you start? Because like you kind of just like showed up midway through last year. And that's so true because like midway through last year, like around like April May time, I did the Copenhagen major, and my career just kind of like exploded after that. So shout out to Blast and Yubi for hiring me for that. I owe you guys big time. But it's like, so I told them like I started in the university scene, and then the both of those people just like looked at me and go, wow, you're one of those. We haven't had that in like 10 years. That's crazy. I never knew that that was like such a
The
rare
chosen
thing.
one.
That shows that right, like no, and I never knew that it was like so unconventional or so difficult really to break into tier 1 in regards to
how,
being an esports talent. But it really seems to be, unless you're like one of those really lucky smart people that like jump on a game the second it gets released, like every single esports has their established talent lineup, and they're so fucking good because they have had 10 plus years of experience, 8 plus years of experience, more than 5 years of experience minimum per person. There is no way a little shit like me is gonna get like picked over them. So I am incredibly grateful for the position that I have, but also that just means that you gotta put in the fucking work.
yeah, I think that's the challenge that the next gen of esports talent is. Not to say that the old gen of esports talent didn't have challenges. They had completely different challenges. They had to prove that esports was worth the time of investors and money. It was a completely different fiasco.
Well, that
But
went
yeah,
well.
you're right. Like in order for like new people to jump into the scene with pre-already existing talent there, you not only have to do as good as them, you've got to do even better.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah, no,
those
actually, I really want
pathways are
to.
starting to get built though now, right? Like that you are starting to see the way through a little bit. I guess
Yeah,
it
yeah,
depends
sure.
from esport to esport because when you talk about university and stuff, Ginny, I think like there's
Yeah.
definitely a lot laid out for you in terms of getting studio experience as a bottom line and stuff like that. The things such as like Null have offered for both of us,
Yeah.
and I know that for a
Yeah.
fact. But I guess it's the thing going back to what you were saying about like newer talent being exploited. I don't think it's necessarily like, oh, you're bad, I'm gonna hire you. It's more just like accessibility. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if I was a TO and I didn't have any of the connections I did now, and I just wanted someone to cast my team, I would go to a community Discord. I wouldn't be like, yo, Pansy Hypoc, you want to hop on the mic real quick? I got a BO3 for you or something like that. I got an ESEA game. You want to just hop in? Because you know that it's just like that's not how it works. So
Yeah, I want to like further like establish on that though, because you're saying that there is a certain path set out for you, and as much as I think you're right, I also think you're very much wrong.
No, and I
because
agree.
because like yeah, like okay, so my path, like let's break it down step by step. I started in the university scene. That's where I started. Did university scene gigs for a couple of months. I did a lot of volunteering gigs with like community discords, as you're saying, that I didn't get paid for. Then from those university gigs, I went and did tier 2. So I did tier 2 Valorant, I did tier 2 Siege. And
Yeah.
then I went from tier 2 Valorant to tier 2 Siege. And then one of the people that was really interested in Siege saw me on tier 2 Siege and was like, oh, actually, you know what? Let's get her from Insomnia. So I did I-69. Nice. I did I-69. So university, tier 2, Insomnia. Insomnia, they saw me. They're like, oh, actually, she's a great host on stage. Let's get her for the LEC Expo. Insomnia, LEC Expo. LEC Expo isn't even a tier 1 or a tier 2 or a tier 3. It's just hosting. I mean, it's amazing. It's not just, it's like you're hosting kind of like a booth, but not really because it's a stage for an event. So you go from
Big booth.
a big booth. So
Big
it's like
booth.
university, tier 2, Insomnia, which is technically also hosting a big booth, into hosting another big booth. And that's when I was like talking to people that were there from Riot's perspective, and like Quickshot absolutely love this man. He was like, actually, like, you're a really great host. Like, we should hire her for EMEA Masters. And then the year after that, I did tier 2 League of Legends, but I was already doing like tier 1 Valorant and tier 1 Siege. So it's there like that's the conventional path, so to say, where you go from uni, tier 2, booth, tier 1, blah 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 blah. But also something to keep in mind is that I was really lucky in regards of where I started. I started in the UK scene. I did Insomnia in the UK scene. If you're not a UK based local, the likelihood of you doing Insomnia is like -1 because they're not gonna fucking fly you over from
No.
Europe to host
No budget for that.
Insomnia.
Yeah, true.
So, and the people who saw me at Insomnia from the UK scene were people who were working at the time for Riot for their UK stuff. And it just so happens that the LEC finals was within the region that this person working in the UK was responsible for. So, yes, to an extent, I created my own luck by putting myself in those positions and working my way up there. But also, what the fuck is the likelihood of that actually being the case?
Yeah, because I mean,
Right?
the pathways, like, even then, you talk about all of these different things that you've done, even if it's in the same circuit. Let's take apart some of these names here. Tier 2 Valorant
Yeah.
is like Pro Mod, EMEA Masters is whoever the fuck does that, iSeries
It used to be Riot
is
and
whoever
Freaks.
that
It used to be
runs it,
Freaks,
right?
yeah.
You know, like, they're all completely different. Those connections aren't necessarily, like, long-standing ones or anything actually between the two. There was something that I wanted to say, and yeah, I think like just the nature of talking in esports about this anyway is like actually crazy to me if you take a step back. Like imagine 3 people on a podcast being like, "Oh, when I started writing spreadsheets, I was using Excel, but now I'm on Google Sheets and it's really cool." Or like, you know, I got a promotion at work, but it's not a promotion at work. You know, it's like different because the nature of the job means that you are connected with internet spaces, and there's someone on the screen right now, and I could just reach out and touch them if I wanted
Please
to.
don't touch your
Or,
camera.
or,
That
or
looks
in
concerning.
the ears, maybe I could just get that a little bit closer.
Ew.
And
God.
magic,
Can we mute
the
him?
power of the internet.
Can we mute
know,
him? Can we just?
That's
Okay.
that's it.
But I think as well something to highlight in terms of like the progression from your career when you are newer to the esports scene is that people are always going to be watching. And I didn't necessarily know this when I had just started, but then the more I was doing events, because when you do an event, right, they will usually like they will hire you, you'll sign, you'll meet them up with them because you're doing the event, and then they're like, "Oh, XYZ person referred you," or "I saw you on this broadcast." And then you start to connect the dots and you start to figure out that literally every single thing that you do as a caster or a host or esports talent, people are watching. And to me that created a really big form of anxiety because I'm like, every single broadcast is a job interview. Every single time that camera goes on and I am hosting or I am interviewing or I'm casting, I did a little bit of casting for Valorant, but it's like it's a job interview, and it creates a lot of pressure for newer generation because if someone that is super established in the scene and that has had like 5 years plus of experience, they have one off day, that's fine. They have had so much experience already behind them. They have had so many sample models of doing broadcasts behind them that people are like, oh, it's just an off day. But if I come onto a broadcast and I shit the bed because I'm having an off day, people are gonna be like, yo, she fucking sucks ass, bro. Nothing wrong with if you're into that, but it's also like, she's terrible. I'm not shaming anyone here, but it's like that's a thing for newer talent, and I think that creates so much pressure for newer talents because you will eventually become hyper aware of the fact that every single thing you do is being watched, and if it's not being watched potentially by someone who's like the one making the top decisions, it will be watched by someone underneath them who feeds that information to them.
It's
And
about
that's
raising
scary.
your floor as well, you know? Like I said the other day to Pavlos,
I'm
I had
5'3",
a
I
bad
don't
day,
raise
I
shit.
had a rough time, something like that. But still, I already know that my floor is way higher than it used to be. So if I have a bad day, it'll be bad, but I still had loads of people be like, "Yo, Hazza, that was a great cast. I really enjoyed the broadcast." And I'm like, "What?"
But also, like, how many
thought that
people
was
say that and
ass, but
actually
they
mean
enjoyed it
it?
anyway because
No, I think
you
people
can
mean it. It's
you
just
can
that we have very
competent.
much higher
Yeah,
expectations
for
of
sure.
Okay.
what our best is, and we want to reach our ceiling every time. But it's like Hazza said, you need to have sort of a certain floor. I want to jump back on what Ginny said for a second though. The fact that every event you do is an interview, it's very real right now. I don't know how much that's the case for like older established talent. I feel like it's the case for everyone. That's the case in broadcasting, right? But I think for newer talent, it's even more because not only do you want to go up, but you want to sustain the position that you're in. You don't want to go backwards. And I think that's a very real thing. While an established talent that has been there for a while, they're part of the scene. That is not a thing. They're not getting replaced because
and also they have
people will melt
friends.
down.
Like I know you probably heard this like 100,000 million times, especially in esports.
Do you
and
need
this is
friends,
something
Ginny?
that people were like, huh?
Do you need friends?
Yeah. No, but it's like something that people are like drilling into. I thought you guys were saying Genie, and I was like, what the fuck?
I
Yes,
said,
am
Ginny,
Genie.
do you need friends, Ginny?
Genie, do
That's
I
what
need
said.
friends? Yeah, I do. I have no friends. Wah, wah, womp womp. Twitch chat is my friend. Parasocial relationship, but like reversed. The streamer is the one that's like making it parasocial. Anyways, the thing is, something that everybody said to me since literally day one that I started streaming, that I started esports, they were like, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And I was like, that's so fucking bullshit. Shut the fuck up. If I'm good enough at my job, then I'm gonna get hired. Yeah, no. You need to be nice to people, which is fine. Like that just comes naturally, except when it's Pavlos or Hazza, then I'm just gonna like throw them under the bus for memes. But it's like
we're bad people.
it is really important.
No one wants to work.
It is really, and I think that's something that if there is anything you ever take away from the way that my career went, or the way that some people say my career skyrocketed or exploded, again, that's not my words, I'm just saying what other people are saying, is that social media is your best friend. Twitter is your best friend. Like, yes, did you just, even if you just work an event for free, like you're not getting paid for it, nobody gives a fuck. Okay, just tweet that you worked the event. Be like, what's up everybody, I just worked this event, sheesh, I did amazing. Like,
It's
people
true.
will see that. Like, everybody who works in esports is chronically on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it.
It's funny that you say that because that's something that you said before. I remember I said to you like, "Oh, Ginny, I'm doing so many broadcasts. I'm doing so much stuff online." But like some of these ones, like NA Collegiate Tier 5, like random Counter Strike, I wasn't tweeting because I was like, it's just added stress and like whatever. And I remember you were like, "Oh, well, why don't you tweet it now?" And now every single time I do an event, I'm like, even if it gets 3 likes, Ginny would want me to tweet it. So I'm there
exactly.
and I'm tweeting it. You know what I mean?
Because people see it and people will like see you on their timeline.
Yeah, like talent managers as well, who are like, if you go to an event, be like, "Thank you for having me at your event."
Yeah.
You know, like it's standard practice. But speaking of events, I think we move swiftly onwards here to our next main subject, and maybe even final main subject. I don't know. You were calling them elephant in the room before. No elephants here. Just a bunch of quality events from the past. So we'll start with Pavlos, and obviously the prompt for this was either it can be an event that you attended, one that you watched online and that you really enjoyed. Mine that I've gone for is one that I watched online, but maybe something will spring to mind that that I also enjoyed going to. But we'll start with you.
Yay! So the moment you said highlight event of the year, I started thinking of it this morning, and I was like, that the last big Counter-Strike event I did is definitely going to take the cake. And it was called the Pinnacle Cup Championship. It was an international LAN. It was in Sweden. My first international LAN, by the way, casting in front of a crowd. And it was with amazing talent. You've got duos like Harry and Hugo. You had Pala hosting, Tech Girl as well. Dinko, Eternal J, and Dweg. A bunch of people that I'd worked in the Counter-Strike scene for a long time, I looked up to, and I was going to work with them. It was my first big step up. This was 2022, by the way. And it drew me back to memory lane because Counter-Strike is where I grinded out for the longest time. It was like 2 years. I went through the tier 4 shit tier events. Like I said, it was the events where I had to do 9 years,
9
9
years.
hours, 9 hours,
That's what it
shit
feels
pay.
like, though, right?
Yeah, though,
Yeah.
like, and it was so many broadcasts a week. Nobody really cared about them. Only bettors did, and your DMs would be spammed with death threats, not because of something that.
What?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
CS
your DMs
Classic,
would be
dude.
spammed with death threats
Oh,
because
man.
you cast a curse the match, or you apparently rigged a match
Yeah.
that someone was betting on. So yeah,
I had
that was
That's
fun.
I had
crazy. What the
people in
fuck?
chat before, and someone was like, I can't remember, like, quote if match fixing the account was called, or like, match fix finder 2011 or something,
Wow.
and this guy in all caps is like, Hazza, you will pay. You have given your soul to the devil. You make little money, but much money is taken. You are built upon greed or some shit, like some
Wow.
ancient curse that I've like sold my soul to
Print it out.
cast this event, which I have absolutely no play in what's happening at all because there are a couple
Yeah.
of tech issues. Like, sure, some of these matches are a bit of a farce, and I'm not saying that foul play was involved, but sometimes it's like, some guys called a tech pause because his cat is on his desk or something, or like, stuff like that.
That happened.
These guys
Bro,
are
I had
just,
events where players would smash their screens and we'd have a tech
Damn.
pause because of it. But either way, that whole grind, the Pinnacle Cup Championship in Sweden, that international LAN became the reward for all the grind I'd done the 2 years prior, right? It was a recognition from the Pinnacle Cup, from Grid Esports, from Relog Media, from all the organizers involved. They texted me, they emailed me, they asked for specifically me from all those casters that have grinded out the years with me, and they singled me out and are like, we want you on. For me, that was like such a massive highlight. That was such a I felt like I did like people recognized my work, people enjoyed what I did, and it was at a period where I started doing more playoffs, more grand final appearances on events that would pop up every so often. That's where I felt like, okay, I can actually do this. This was the year, by the way, where I actually realized I can do this job as a living. So it wasn't only an awesome event, but it also means something to me, because it was all that hard work paying off. And yeah, every moment of it was special. It was during COVID time as well. Was one in that period where COVID started to fade, but then amped up a couple months later. So we found a window for that LAN to take place. So that was also weird. Everybody caught COVID from that event, by the way. That's the first time I caught COVID. I got back to Cyprus after I was still living in Amsterdam. I got back to Amsterdam and I was in bed for a week because I caught COVID from someone somehow. No one knows. It happens. But yeah, it was awesome in every single way because I felt like my grind was rewarded. I met awesome people that also felt the same. And I remember coming off of that event not feeling happy with what I did because I wasn't working with a duo I was supposed to work with, that I was knowledgeable, that I've worked with before.
Yeah.
I had to work on stage with a pro player that didn't have English as their first language. Even though I love Golden to bits, it was a brilliant experience to pick his brain, but it wasn't something I had experience in. So it put a lot of pressure on me to try and draw out all the knowledge that he had. So there were a lot of new challenges. I learned a lot of things, and yes, I wasn't happy with the end result. I went back today to look at all these clips, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Counter-Strike commentary was cracked, and I, at that moment, at 2 years into my career, was pretty damn good, right? So, so like I still have that pride over that tournament. So yeah, I haven't done an international Counter-Strike event since, and I have gone more into Valorant and I've done international lands in that way. That still will be forever a part, a big part of my career, I think, and definitely holds a place in my heart.
I feel you, man. I feel like with CS commentary as well, because there are a lot of like down patches, if that makes sense. There's more opportunities to like tie in narrative bits, or at least with like, especially Go, with it being MR15, MR16, whatever it
Yeah.
was, right? Like, there were more opportunities which you could consider a throwaway, but in like a LAN environment, that is your perfect little bit of setup to like do extra stuff, be a bit more creative because a lot of the gunfights are the same. It's not like Valorant where there's 1,000 different bits
No.
of utility that you consistently need to be
Yeah.
drawing. There's so much importance placed on every round in Valorant, whereas in CS sometimes you did have those moments.
Is there a chance we can throw up a Counter-Strike clip here?
We could
would-
potentially. I don't
You
know
want us to
how that's
listen to
going to
your
work for
casting?
the.
I actually
for the
do
spot
because I'm
Okay.
proud of it.
We'll
I'm proud of
we'll
it.
let
This is
Haribo
2022, Pavlos.
marinate that in the background. We'll go to you,
Let me-
Ginny, while
Yeah.
this is being
Do the shark one,
fried,
Harry.
fried
You know
up.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this one's being fried up because I was so confused for a moment. Do the shark one. What?
Do a shark, I was like,
we're
what?
sorry,
And then I
we
hear
do a
Harry.
dance
Harry
or
knows.
something. Okay,
We have
look,
like 2 Harrys. We have Hazza Harry and Harry Boo.
we get it here anyway.
Incredible producer
The audio
Harry.
listeners will have the full audio experience. They will have no visual of this, but they'll be able to hear it, I guess.
Okay, let's go.
Imagine
Wait,
a
okay.
Vertigo
Okay,
B-site
Alright.
defense. Imagine
while we're
a
cooking-
Vertigo B-site defense, and while that image is slowly being baked into your mind, imagine a really short host with a microphone about to tell us what exactly it
Why are you
is.
calling Pavlos short? Isn't he like your height?
I'm not a
He,
host,
Pavlos
Jenny,
is
so
taller
she's
than- taller
he's
than
obviously
me.
talking about you.
Fuck.
Well, I'm the
Why are you
youngest one
calling
here
me
anyway,
short?
so growing
Why are you
pains.
calling me
Ginny.
short, man? That's fucked up. Yeah. What's up? Yeah, I think for me,
event
like
for
the
you.
best event that I think I've been really lucky. So if I'm looking at the events that I've worked, like League of its own was fucking insane. The fact that I got to work that event with Shocks, with Lore, with Dracos, like I literally worked. That was my first event with the LEC talents. It was incredible. I saw Faker. Didn't take a picture though, but I saw Faker.
Didn't
I saw him.
happen.
I was in the same room as Faker. Okay, dude. I was walking, and then Carria was like walking, and then he apologized. And I was like, no, I'm so sorry. Like, he apologized to me. What the fuck? He's such a nice person. Anyway, either way, didn't take a picture though, but doesn't matter. I was working the event.
Didn't
That was
happen.
incredible. That was amazing. Sure, the fucking vibes, dude. I got to interview the KC mascot. What? That was incredible.
Is that the
event.
One Piece guy? With the
Yeah.
hat?
It is. Like insane. And like I got to do that, which was incredible. And I'm forever grateful for that. I think that was insane experience. But I think it was topped by SI Brazil. And the reason why it was topped by SI Brazil is because, first of all, I feel like the Siege challenge and the relationship that I have with them is like more of a family relationship rather than a friendship, and I'm really grateful. They have genuinely, like, they've been incredible people to me, and they've been really kind and have been really supportive. And I remember, like, I did the Copenhagen major and I was a little baby little shit. Yeah, that is the One Piece. I was a little baby. I was a little
Yeah.
shit, and they didn't make me feel like I was a little baby and a little shit. Like, I knew in the back of my mind, like, these people are probably thinking, what the fuck is she doing here? But like, they never treated me that way, and that meant a lot to me. But then when I was looking at SI, I hosted the group stage. It was incredible. The vibes were incredible. Like, I think that was also like the first event ever in my life where I got out of my shell and actually actively tried to be to like build a connection with pro players, because admittedly, everybody knows that don't talk to Gini because she's not going to reply, which is true. But also, that's not necessarily like I need to, working the LEC, I've realized that to an extent, I need to build a certain type of relationship with the players just so that for the interviews, they're not uncomfortable and they don't think that I'm going to like stab someone. Because I would never. I'm a really nice person, but I've been told a lot that I can be intimidating, and I'm sorry about that.
She's
So
from
I-
London.
and that
You gotta watch
yeah,
out.
It's scary.
gotta shank him. Not really. Either way, that's also the first event where I really tried to get out of my shell. But for SI, the crowd in the finals, okay, it was FaZe Clan against W7M. W7M had already won every single international title this year except SI. SI was the only one remaining that they had to win. And usually teams don't really get to do that. The only team has ever done that is Penta, who then turned into G2 because they got picked up, and that was like fucking years ago. But W7M, to put this into perspective, if you're new to Siege, you need 7 rounds to actually close out the map. And FaZe Clan was 6 rounds in, and W7M had 1 round. And W7M somehow still and that was the final game of the BO5. And W7M somehow still managed to win it. FaZe Clan needed 1 round, 1 fucking round to close it out, and W7M actually somehow managed to take it back and win it. Beside the point, FaZe Clan has 1 player, and W7M had a player, and they're twin brothers.
Yeah.
Okay, they're literally fucking twins. Nade and Handy on opposite teams. They are twin brothers. And when W7M won, they, instead of going to celebrate with his team, he went and he fucking hugged his brother, and they cried together because his brother on FaZe Clan didn't get the title. Like, You cannot make this shit up. And that is without even taking into consideration the fucking crowd. It was sold out, 9,000 people. People were literally sitting on their knees, crying, tears running down their fucking faces, holding a Bible, praying to God that W7M would actually be able to bring it back. I have never in the history of my life in esports, which I know is like only 2 years, but I have never fucking seen this. And the passion, the belief, just the
Oh,
storylines,
look
this
at
was
that.
perfect. That's his brother. Like honestly, I cannot put it into
WCGE.
words.
Oh my
I can
God.
literally not. I can
Try to
literally
top that,
not
Hazza.
put into words how this
Hey,
is the
no
most
worries, man.
incredible event ever.
I'm gonna just clone myself and then do like an
Wow.
intro to a major, and like me and my bro doing the, was it the Dragon Ball like power up thing? Rest in peace to the guy that made Dragon Ball, by the way. Was it Akira Toriyama
R.I.P.
or something? But yeah, those look sick. Those look sick. For me, mine
Hey.
was just purely a viewing experience. I've not yet had that moment of euphoria where someone's like, Hazza, we want you to do this event, which is your dream. But we'll get there. For now, and it may be in the pipeline. There's a possibility that we'll get something epic soon. But we have this clip of Pavlos first for Pinnacle, because
Sure.
mine is also a
Alright.
CS related
How long is it?
thing.
45
So we'll
seconds?
go there first.
That's a long
Yeah.
time for a man.
Well, she.
Yes.
That's awful.
And just knowing that the boost came through, there's 2 on B, at least.
So desperate to get the push on here. Twist not looking in the right direction at the right time, looking below in case the swing does come out there. Vinny looking to bring it back for his team, might be able to do so, bring things level. Down to a 2-on-2, Bolt needing to stabilize, but Anarkes is close by. He's a shark in the depths of hell. Grabs his foot and takes him down under.
That's heard from Pleasant. You can already see the relocation coming back over. He knows FNX is going A.
He's read it. He knows. Anarkes also coming soon. Flash over FNX. Oh, looking for it, but can't account for the second. Team Finest, map point, series point, 1 away to getting to play in front of their home crowd.
And it's the big...
Out of
Oh, man.
All right.
I already watched the clip
I'm
once,
proud of
but
you.
I without the headphones on because I was sat in my bed watching it. I missed the part at the end with all of the people in the booth going after the clip. Honestly,
Oh man.
Nothing-
That's 2 years
nothing
ago.
quite
Bro.
like
That's
it.
like, well, that's 2 years ago. That's
I mean,
2022 Pavlito.
I know you were
know?
saying that you look back at that and you're like, wow, this was, you know, my best work or my better work or whatever.
I don't say it's my
or
best
some work
work,
that you're proud of.
but I think it's
yeah,
I'm like
I can
shit,
still
okay,
I
that
can
was pretty
still
good.
see like not necessarily development per se, but like, you know, I wouldn't knock yourself down or off of, you know, the back of something else you've done good before. You've done good work before, you'll do good work again. You have. It is what it is. Mine,
Hazza.
CS. This is just a really random one. Honestly, man, I just love to watch the CS majors back in the day. The Pick'ems, sat there twiddling my thumbs, 15 years old, I think I would have been at the time. Cluj-Napoca. I loved Cluj-Napoca, bro. I went and watched pretty much every single one of the play days that there was. I think there was there was some kind of tragedy that happened at one point during the event, so it meant that they either cut attendances or there was something that they weren't allowed to do the next play day, but then the government gave them the authority to go ahead with it anyway or something, which was a really special moment. But like, yeah, that whole event honestly was sick. I remember being sat there on the end screen when the whole show had wrapped and just sitting and listening to the same break music that I had for like the last week or so and just being like, yeah, that's all going in my playlist. Like I have just been fully enchanted by this single event that I've watched. And I think honestly, I don't know. It's a very specific moment in time in esports history, which I don't feel like we sort of will capture again, not in a way that it's like something that we've lost and that it's a big loss, but just certain little parts about it, like the soundproof booths. Everyone hated them, but we sort of had them, and I think it was quite funny. Like, it just very distinctive for the point in time. You know what I mean? That's what I'm really getting at here. And yeah, I think it was cool. It was nice to see some of those iconic rosters as well. And looking at a game like Valorant, that's the kind of part that you want to really reach to get to. And I'm going to Blast London in a few months now. I think it's like it's
Sweet.
3 months to the day actually. It's from the 14th to the 16th. It's going to
Of
be
May?
in Wembley. No, 3 months. So June. But
June.
Oh, is it
okay.
hosted in Wembley?
yeah. Well, the
That's
OVO Wembley, right? So not
crazy.
Wembley.
Oh, the vibes are gonna be vibing.
Stadium, but-
UK crowd is
Yeah.
crazy.
I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah. Honestly, I think if you want to talk about an event that I have done, I also did do a CS event as my first ever LAN cast. It was also Valorant
Okay.
at the same time. It was SEL 4. Oh my god! It was a LAN which was in so like some people who had like attended LANs but not commentated them. I hadn't done either, so this is like my very first experience. And just I remember turning up there the night before with my pasta ready meal, which I used a spoon which I stole from the restaurant that it was hosted beneath, because I forgot to take one of the wooden ones from the Tesco. I remember sitting there and eating it the first time that I ever met Billy. Then the next day, turning up to the event, doing the event, and yeah, like slightly delayed GOTV feed, so the players are celebrating, and 3 minutes later they win the round, like stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Because they didn't have the direct connection. Oh, dude, it's just like classic LAN event. Not getting paid until months later. The guy who was the MVP of the event getting allegations thrown against him later, like just classic UK
Like,
stuff.
Welcome
as
to
in, like, cheating allegations?
No, far worse, and I won't be getting into
Oh,
it.
Oh
shit.
But,
shit!
um,
Okay,
oh.
never mind. Don't welcome
Yeah,
to
dude.
esports.
It was just one of those, and then the pub afterwards, and I had a conversation, sat down with Cairo in the pub, and being like, and I remember he said to me like, Hazza, would you ever consider us branding as a duo? And I was like, you know what, maybe we should push to do a few events together.
Oh, the
And that was
beginning of
where it
something.
started, right in that pub. So yeah, crazy stuff, man, honestly. Like,
For anybody that doesn't know Hazza and Cairo, they're the current Valorant duo of tier 2. They will grow.
that's
They'll
that's
get
not
better.
necessarily
Are
true.
you
I
calling
mean,
them short?
well, I mean, it
Short?
it is
No,
it
you're
is
short.
it
They
is
will
true,
grow.
but at the same time, you're also working the same league as me. But then again, I probably wouldn't put you in the same boat of tier 2. So, look,
Me?
I'm trying to be humble here. I'm trying to be humble, but I appreciate it. Yeah, we're doing our thing,
Bro,
man.
you've carried.
we've
you've
grown, we've
carried
grown.
the scene
We've
since
grown,
last
right?
year. You've
We've
carried
grown.
it.
So here we are. And yeah, so that's me, honestly. I don't know.
Very nice.
Retrospectively, then, to sort of tie it all up nicely, from the events
Yeah.
that we've done in the past, from the ones that we've enjoyed watching, what is it that esports can do to recapture that feeling that the OG events had? Maybe even something like a summit event, What can we do?
Oh.
Ginny at the front of the class, the short one with the brown hair.
Yes. Ah, what the fuck, man? Okay, shit. That's
The teacher's pet.
damn. Okay,
Go ahead.
I don't want to answer the question anymore. No, but I think like something that I noticed is
Oh,
like
sorry.
back in the day, it was like it felt like being at these events or like again, I wasn't at these events. I didn't watch them events, but from what I've been hearing from people, I want to clarify that this is not my own personal experience because I know I'm new. I know I'm a little shit. Please don't talk to me like that. But anyway, a lot of people felt more of a connection with the players, particularly when these events were happening. Maybe because it was a smaller audience. Maybe because, call me fucking crazy. Maybe because broadcasts actually had players more involved in them. If you have, like, I don't know if you like notice, but if you look at the broadcasts that are happening right now, like everything is about cutting transitions time and getting faster into the game. But because you're cutting transition time and you're getting faster into the game, when are people gonna get to know the players?
That's
And
true.
also, players are.
When are you
going to
build the storylines? When are you gonna get to know the fucking
We're not
stories?
seeing the players. I want to see the players. Bring the players. Do more interviews. Do more
True.
content. Bring them on the analyst desk. Like
We
I
need
understand.
story time.
The craziest thing is as
we want to
well,
cut transition times, but we need to see the players more.
something like CS, for example, I had my favorite players, which I liked, which had their own personalities and stuff. Did I have Twitter at that age? No. Did I follow any of their personal things that they were putting out? No. Was it just purely manufactured through things such as broadcast, like the little shorts that they did with some of the players, that those Valve ones for the major events, or you know, like releasing the comms when literally you had the comms for the entirety of an event, and that's pretty much how people found out that Cloud9 were taking Adderall to enhance their performance. Like, you know, the classic one where they were all on drugs basically, because they were all using the same call out diggity for every position on the map during their series.
Diggity.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
map
oh,
is now
one,
my property.
one diggity. Yeah, honestly, those moments iconic. The fact that even now people are quoting the Alu, can I drink those Red Bulls or are they just for the stage or something? Like, you know, stuff like that. Push banana like you push your girlfriend. Stuff like, yeah. Like, how often do you have quotables like that pop up these days? You know, not very
Chicken
often.
PC.
You need to make you need to facilitate it.
It's not normal.
Even if they're just doing it themselves with stuff like that. And I know we still do have comms videos and things, but yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah, there's too many
Yeah.
rules.
Yeah, people like can't swear anymore. People can't fucking like, dude. I also feel like a lot of the pro players are just literally like really focused on playing the game, which I respect because you want
That's
to play
fair.
the game. But it's like, where's your personality? I fucking loved it when Doublelift was like, yeah, everybody's trash.
Mm.
Absolutely, you're totally not though. Never won anything, but everybody's trash. Fuck yeah, I respect it. I think it would be really nice if we can just like to an extent have players more involved in terms of like their personalities. Don't get me wrong, it's sometimes really difficult to bring those personalities out of a player, but they are there and they do exist and it is possible. And it's just a matter of like being able to do that in some way, shape, or form. But I also get it. Like you want to cut transition times because you want to keep people interested because people are there to watch the game. But realistically, how many games do people actually watch? Like what? Like there are so many games that are just like really mid.
Games as
And
in
you're-
like matches for a
Yeah.
title?
Yeah, like
or...
there's a lot of matches that people
Oh.
are just like for example, like there's 5 matches a day on the LEC, right? Probably most people would only want to be looking forward to one
One
or
thing
maybe
I will
2.
say,
A couple.
and I was
you know,
going to
a couple a
start the
week.
broadcast with this as well. So for those who don't know, you guys remember Ascend, the team that won the first ever
Absolutely, yeah.
champions for Valorant? You know how they
Mhm.
went into tier 2 and they made a super roster, and then Monster left and they thought, let's bring in Chihuahua, another player with, you know, pedigree. And you know how we thought that they
That
may even
dog
get
barks.
better.
Chihuahua
And
is
it
a
bites.
pedigree.
That's a good one actually. And how we thought the roster may even get better. That team just lost in the first phase of playoffs.
Chihuahua lost
which
to a cat.
may mean
That's
they don't
crazy.
even make it to Ascension based on points, depending on what the split looks like. To a team
they lost
called
the entire
fucking
split?
Chippy Chappers. They are out of playoffs. They are out of playoffs, and they need to. You know, they may not get enough points for the second set of playoffs to move any further. So not only do we have Chippy Chappers beating Ascend, we have
Out
a
of
team
playoffs?
full of Finnish players named after an adult website pushing Apex, our former finalists, to the absolute limits. How can you not love Tier 2 Valorant?
Oh, brilliant.
Who said that they don't love tier 2 Valorant? Because that's
Definitely
a shit show and I
not
love
me.
it.
Anyway, so I mean, yeah, you have all of that. And speaking of building these storylines, right, and stuff like
Dude,
that,
that's a stacked roster. How did they
it
get out
starts
so
with
quickly?
you. It starts with you. So for all of the up and coming talent that may be watching this as well, you know, when we were speaking earlier about the next generation of esports talent, go ahead and make some interviews. Start to lay the groundwork. You know, players will want to talk to you, and if they don't have that experience, then they can start to rack it up by letting you throw some questions at them. So that was one of the best decisions I ever made, just interviewing people. So go make that opportunity for yourself if it's not there. Seize the day.
There we go. 2 really great pieces of advice here is treat every broadcast like a job interview. No, 3 actually. Treat every broadcast like a job interview. Lay the groundwork and start the day. And also post on your fucking socials when you're doing something, please.
I got
I'm
another one.
literally begging you. Yeah.
Don't be shit.
Don't be.
Yeah,
wow, that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
best advice you could ever give to anyone.
And
Don't be shit.
If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure
Like
to
and subscribe.
like, subscribe, hit the bell, but also follow it on Spotify and leave it on in the background
Yes.
when you go to sleep. I want to play some white noise, and then you just put on me talking about shit in the bed. It's fantastic.
Quite literally. that was the
Then,
highlight for sure.
And like all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts, anyone, or are we wrapping it up here and now?
Yeah,
Yeah, let's
thank
do
you
it.
guys for watching. I appreciate it. Like Hazza said, like and subscribe, follow us on social, skills skill issues
Skills
live.
issues.
We're already
Got
on the
Ali
10
G.
on the 8th episode. We have a commitment of doing at least 10, so we got a lot more shit coming your way in the best way possible. Yeah,
Yeah. And
Let's get
not
it.
in a bed. Thank you for watching, and good night.
You cute.
why is it? What if it's good morning
And good morning. And
What if it's
seize
good
the
afternoon?
day. Seize the day.
or night if it's
Seize
night?
the day. Or
The episode's
seize
over.
the
Evening.
night. That sounds predatory. I'll be honest.
Bye.